Stream now with KPBS Passport on the PBS Video app.
From KPBS and PRX, Port of Entry brings you cross-border stories from cross-border people.
Mexican-American Chicano fronterizo.
I welcome Tijuana into my life.
Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen.
Watch one of the best-selling recording artists of all time for her unforgettable concert, filmed at London's Wembley Stadium. Watch Tina Turner one last time.
Saturday at 9 on KPBS. You're watching KPBS, a broadcast service of San Diego State University. Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Thursday, March 24th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. We could wake up tomorrow to the unsightly image of a $6 a gallon average for regular unleaded here in the county. For 30 straight days now, prices have climbed and calls for relief have gotten louder. The governor has put forward his plan, but are lawmakers ready to take action? Here's KPBS reporter John Carroll.
The all-too-familiar pain at the pump is not getting any less painful for San Diegans.
That's $5.89. I mean, I remember it used to be like, what, $3.40, $3.50?
The average price of a gallon of gas rose for the 30th straight day Thursday, hitting $5.98. Over the last month, the average price has risen $1.23 a gallon.
$400 for each registered vehicle that an individual owns, up to 2 vehicles.
That's the main portion of the governor's proposal. It also includes $750 million for 3 months of free public transit, up to $600 million to pause part of the diesel sales tax for a year, very important to truckers, and $523 million to pause the inflation adjustment for the gas and diesel excise tax. The $400 for registered vehicles would come in the form of 2 debit cards.
Well, that would be helpful. I mean, I'm having to fill up like every, 4 days, and that's like $60 each, twice a week.
What the governor didn't say in his Twitter video is that the relief wouldn't arrive until July at the earliest. People we talked to didn't like that part so much.
They need to spend now. They need to spend now. The prices are expensive.
Republicans pounced on the delay in relief. Assembly Minority Leader James Gallagher saying Californians are struggling and Capitol Democrats are dragging their feet. How could it possibly take that long? But from Democratic Assemblymember Chris Ward of San Diego, an accusation that Republicans are just using smoke and mirror tactics. Ward pointing out that a Republican proposal to suspend the gas tax would cause the state to default on payments to fund road repair. And Ward says gas stations wouldn't have to lower their prices anyway. One doesn't need to be a fortune teller to see that this will almost certainly be an issue in this fall's state elections. John Carroll, KPBS News.
All eyes are on Brussels as President Biden meets with NATO leaders. His visit comes as Russian aggression intensifies. Isabel Rosales reports on the new wave of sanctions and military assistance announced.
Standing up to Russia.
NATO has never been more united than it is today.
At NATO headquarters, high-stakes emergency summits. World leaders unveiling the next phase to hit back at Moscow.
Putin is getting exactly the opposite what he intended to have as a consequence of going into Ukraine.
Fresh sanctions are on the way as world leaders aim to tighten the economic noose on the Kremlin. Allies sending Ukraine new military assistance. And on Europe's eastern flank, NATO bolstering its own defense.
No matter how this war ends, the security environment here in Europe has changed.
But Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is pleading for more.
I just want you to know that the alliance can save Ukrainian lives from Russia's strikes.
On the front lines, rubble and human devastation. Widespread destruction and deserted streets in the once thriving port city of Mariupol. A teen witnessing the death of his mother.
I just remember, like, I woke up in road, I see the broken car, and I see, like, my mother going in fire.
A month into the invasion, Ukrainian troops counterattacking. A U.S. official says the Ukrainians successfully pushed back Russian troops outside Kyiv. The Ukrainian Navy says it has destroyed a Russian warship. And in Russian-occupied Kherson, a Ukrainian flag draped over City Hall, a symbol of hope and defiance. In Washington, Isabel Rosales, KPBS News.
And the United States is taking a step toward easing the humanitarian crisis in Europe. Up to 100,000 refugees from Ukraine will be allowed to enter our country. Polish officials were among those most vocal about the U.S. speeding up the process of bringing Ukrainians here. The UN Refugee Agency says more than 3 million people have already fled Ukraine. Also tonight, an overhaul of the U.S. asylum system is underway by the Biden administration. Every year, tens of thousands of people come to the U.S. to save themselves from persecution or violence. The White House is now working on new regulations that would settle claims more quickly and help with the massive backlog in immigration courts. The plan is to let asylum officers decide what should happen instead of having to wait on a judge. It's estimated 1.7 million cases are still pending. Thousands of San Diegans will soon be getting electricity from a new government agency. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen has more on how to spot the difference on your energy bill.
San Diego Community Power is a partnership between 6 cities plus the county government aimed at speeding up the transition to renewable energy. Right now, the agency is serving about 70,000 homes and businesses, but that customer base will increase more than tenfold over the next 2 months as the agency enrolls homes in Encinitas, Chula Vista, and San Diego. Customers won't notice any difference except for a line item on their SDG&E bill.
We only control the electricity generation piece of that bill, which is maybe a quarter of your bill total.
Cody Hooven is San Diego Community Power's Chief Operating Officer. Most of what customers pay on their energy bill is for the transmission of electricity, which SDG&E is still responsible for. But for generating that electricity,
and that piece that we control, our rates are about 2% cheaper this year, but they're also about 19% cleaner. So that power is 50% renewable power.
San Diego Community Power has an online tool where you can see how much you might save under the new system.
So click on your choice at the top and go to Compare Service Plans.
For me, the savings was only about 13 cents, again, for cleaner electricity than what SDG&E offers. And for about $1 more per month, I can boost my home's electricity to 100% renewable. Hooven gives me the sales pitch and wins me over.
Yes.
I'm going to do it, okay. Customers can compare rates and boost their home's electricity to 100% renewable on the agency's website. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
SDG&E customers will get a break on their utility bills in the coming months thanks to the California Climate Credit Program. In April, natural gas customers will see their bill reduced by about $43. And later this year, electricity customers will get back about $64 on their August and September bills. The credit also applies to community choice customers and will be applied automatically. San Diego's Commission on the Status of Women has been inactive for over 2 decades, but now it's being revived. KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado shows us that, along with the announcement, women who attended had a lot to celebrate.
I'm pleased to announce the City of San Diego is reviving its Commission on the Status of Women.
Mayor Todd Gloria stood in front of the Women's Museum of California, that's yet to open its doors, to announce that the Commission on the Status of Women will once again be looking into what women need to be successful and come up with solutions so they can thrive in the city of San Diego. Gloria said, as much progress that has been made, there's more work to do.
And despite substantial progress over the last several decades, women and girls continue to experience inequality in our society.
The commission was started in 1973, but has been inactive for over 2 decades. Felicia Shaw, the executive director of the Women's Museum, said she was proud to host the event that was long overdue. She has high hopes for this commission.
To start focusing on solutions, strategies, not just a lot of talk, but really getting out there and figuring out where are we stuck, and then coming up with the solutions to keep women moving forward.
San Diego City Council member Vivian Moreno acknowledged the importance of this commission being reborn during Women's History Month. She told a personal story of why the commission is still needed.
When I was running for office back in 2018, I walked 8,000 doors to get elected. One of those doors that I knocked, a man told me, "But can a woman be a city council member?" Guess what? A woman could be a city council member, and she could do it pregnant, too.
And one woman in particular was top of mind during this announcement. Supreme Court Justice nominee Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson.
As an African-American woman, I'm just so proud to see that where she is today, but she stands on the shoulders of a lot of women who've gone before her, trying to open doors, and that's what we want to do. I think the commission should try to open more doors for all women.
Nominations for committee members are now open. Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
New San Diego County hires won't have to be vaccinated for COVID-19 starting next month. The move also gets rid of a weekly testing requirement for current unvaccinated employees. Supervisor Nathan Fletcher says this is the right time to remove the restrictions.
This was always designed to be temporary, and our employee vaccination rate is very high. It's higher than the San Diego County average. I'm proud of our workers for everything that they did. And again, I just think this is another step in the progress around the gradual easing and lifting the restrictions, recognizing we'll have to always be mindful, keep an eye on what's happening and work to be safe. But it's an appropriate step to take at this time.
Fletcher says they are not changing the rules because they cannot fill open positions. The adjustments take effect on April 4th. You could be flying maskless soon if a group of airlines has its way. 10 airlines are calling on the Biden administration to get rid of the federal transportation mask mandate. The union that represents flight attendants for Southwest Airlines says enforcing it is, quote, one of the most difficult jobs we have ever faced. The FAA says out of the nearly 1,000 unruly passenger incidents this year, more than half were mask-related. The current mandate expires on April 18th. The White House says it's consulting the CDC about lifting it earlier. Naval Base North Island is on a list of bases being visited by a new commission investigating military suicides. KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh has the story.
Suicides in the military rose 16% in 2020. Congress mandated the Pentagon to take another look at the potential causes. Eugenio Vigo is with the Center for American Progress, which recently looked at suicides among military and veterans. A higher rate of gun ownership is a major factor.
Mechanisms, when we're talking about suicide, they do matter, and guns matter in this regard. Numerous studies have shown that when you analyze the different mechanisms by which people attempt to commit suicide, guns is the most lethal.
The connection between guns and suicide is well known. The Pentagon just started a new gun safety program for personal firearms. Looking at the data from the Pentagon, researchers also found another risk factor.
A previous physical challenge or a physical condition, meaning physical injuries. That was a very important component that we did see in analysis that relates to veteran suicides and military suicides, but it doesn't relate to the suicides of the overall population.
This week, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin signed a memo creating a new commission that will look at the suicide rate. They will visit 9 U.S. bases no later than August. The only Navy base on the list is North Island. A Pentagon spokesman did not release detailed criteria for why each base was selected, saying others may be added. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
Catalytic converter thefts keep happening, and law enforcement agencies are working together to fight the problem. KPBS North County reporter Tanya Thorne tells us about the Catalytic Converter Regional Initiative.
Every month, law enforcement agencies hold a meeting to discuss a problem impacting all of San Diego's cities: catalytic converter thefts. The agencies are part of a task force called the Catalytic Converter Initiative. Detective Chris James with the Oceanside Police Department started the task force.
Went over problems, went over shortfalls, went over how to tackle the problems, and then we got people from the DA's office on board, and it just kept growing and growing.
North County police departments are now joined by the San Diego Sheriff's Department, Chula Vista Police, UC San Diego Police, and even larger agencies.
Now we have people from the FBI working with us, the DMV, the National Insurance Crime Bureau.
James said the initiative has helped all of the agencies involved communicate, discover patterns, and come up with solutions.
We're attacking this from many fronts. We're attacking it through recyclers, through contacting suspects individually, through trying to understand the whole enterprise of the crime, and also through our judicial system.
Due to the pandemic, thieves were often released with a citation and never arrested. But the initiative's teamwork has helped pass harsher laws on catalytic converter thieves. The district attorney's office is pursuing charges on catalytic converter thefts. And earlier this year, the city of Carlsbad passed the county's first catalytic converter law, making it illegal for anyone other than a core recycler to be in possession of a converter without proof of ownership.
The DA's charges, of course, supersede our ordinance, but it's a safety net in the event that, they aren't charged. The DA's office, for some reason, has to drop the charges. They do not get charged with the crime for whatever reason. They don't face jail time for whatever reason. Our city attorney can then go after the individual for our city ordinance, which is punishable by up to a year in jail and a $1,000 fine.
Cindy Anderson is a crime analysis manager for Carlsbad Police. Her data shows that thefts aren't slowing down and are up 36% when compared to this time last year. This is due to the increase in the value of metals.
So in the past few months, the cost of palladium, rhodium, and platinum have gone up by between 8 and 38%. That's a huge jump.
Detective James says the regional task force is attacking the problem that has victimized many San Diego residents.
I know people feel frustrated, like we're not doing anything, but the fact is, like throughout the county, there's people in SDPD, El Cajon, Carlsbad PD, the sheriffs, and especially here in Oceanside that empathize with victims, and we want to do something to help them.
Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
The record gas prices across California have hit rideshare and delivery drivers especially hard. And as Cara Finstrom shows us, today they made their voices heard in Los Angeles.
I need more money for gasoline.
Lyft and other rideshare drivers rallied alongside Amazon Flex drivers today, demanding more pay during this unprecedented gas crisis. They're all independent contractors, which means they maintain their own cars and cover the costs.
Uber doesn't pay for our gas or our mileage, so everything is just falls on us.
Recently, many contracting giants, including Uber and Lyft, have started offering gas surcharges or temporarily increased earnings to help. Amazon Flex has not. Workers calling for change rallied last week at the Amazon warehouse in Redondo Beach and are planning more protests. In response, the company released a statement saying they pay delivery partners over $26 per hour on average and have already made several adjustments through pricing surges in impacted areas. That's the offering of some higher paid shifts. Richard Meza maintains Amazon Flex's average pay is lower. He recently stopped driving for them and took another job.
It's not accurate. That's a every so often occurrence. It's not consistent. The most average is a little bit under minimum wage.
Jobless claims have dropped to a 53-year low. New numbers show just 187,000 people filed for initial weekly unemployment benefits last week, much lower than expected. It's a bright spot for the economy right now as we deal with higher oil and gas prices and other inflation pressures. The strong jobs numbers, however, could lead the Federal Reserve to step up its pace of interest rate hikes as a way to keep inflation in check. San Diego during spring break inevitably means some beach time. Local lifeguards and police want you to stay safe out there, so they are increasing their patrols. Their message to beachgoers: follow the rules and the posted signs. And most importantly, they are asking people to be cautious while in the water, whether on a watercraft or swimming.
So if you hear the lifeguard, see a lifeguard, just listen to what they're telling you to do. They're not harassing you. They just want you to move out of the area. We are trained observers, and we can see where the rip currents are, and we know you're in danger before you're in danger.
And they also want to remind everyone that alcohol is not allowed and to leave your glass containers at home.
We have begun the cool down. Temperatures trending down and coastal clouds actually returning for us, which means we're getting ready for some big changes. In fact, a new storm system trying to work in next week, which could bring us some pretty notable rain. So very welcome setup for that. For now, though, we are looking at some of those coastal clouds continuing to work their way back in for tonight. 64 for the low ocean side, headed down to 50. And if you're in Mount Laguna, in the mid-50s for you. Now, of course, it has been warm and it continues to remain warm for some of our inland areas, and especially as you push your way through the interior southwest. But we're going to get some of that coastal flow coming back in, which means some morning clouds to start off with tomorrow, giving way to afternoon sunshine and only topping out in the lower 70s for the city. Head to Chula Vista 75, Ramona 85 for you, but Borrego Springs still holding on to the mid-90s for the afternoon. So again, farther inland you go, the more heat you'll find heading into Saturday. By Sunday, all sorts of things are changing. We're really going to notice those temperatures down and low pressure system coming in. This one is going to try to bring us some rain. So we do have that threat Sunday night into Monday, where you can see the cloud icon is out, the rain too. Temperatures in the mid-60s. A big difference there as far as temperatures are concerned. Meanwhile, your Friday, again, most places still dealing with pretty mild weather, clouds giving way to more sunshine towards the coast. And then as you work your way through time here, adding in more of those clouds through Sunday, where we will actually find that rain advancing Sunday night into Monday. Still keeping things kind of cool and cloudy into Tuesday for many spots, including the mountains, where they'll only be in the mid-40s. And once that rain moves in, too, lower 40s for highs on Monday. So this is that change of pace for us. Welcomed moisture in many spots, and can't rule out maybe just a flake or two for some of the highest elevations, but mostly forecasting for rainfall. Desert communities saying hot through Saturday, then cooling off as we add more clouds into Monday. For KPBS News, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Melissa Constanzer.
Some San Diego County farmers are fighting their water district over who must pay to keep water flowing to crops, including avocados and grapes. iNews Source reporter Camille Von Canel explains.
The Ramona Municipal Water District decided to stop the water system used by farmers in the Highland Valley near Escondido because it would cost millions to upkeep for fewer and fewer sales. The district gave customers a choice: lose the water or pay thousands in fees to connect to another system. Some farmers are fighting back. Russ Snow is a longtime avocado grower who said the cost might force him to quit.
It's just kind of an end of an era for me. And I share the frustration of a lot of farmers in this state that we're kind of being pushed out.
The water district pushed its deadline back nearly 2 years as it considers the risk it will get sued. For KPBS, I'm iNews Source reporter Camille Von Canel.
iNews Source is an independently funded nonprofit partner of KPBS. College sports might not always mean working up a sweat. KPBS science and technology reporter Thomas Fudge shows us the growing presence of esports at UC San Diego.
There is a place on campus where rows of computers and padded chairs make it a perfect place to study. Not quite. This place is called the Triton Esports Center. This is the REMAC Annex at UC San Diego, and it's the new home of the esports team. They had their grand opening on March 4th. One person there on a weekday morning was varsity esports gamer Sam Duzen. He goes by the nickname Lava Blue. Duzen was playing a game of Rocket League with his twin brother. Imagine rocket-propelled cars playing soccer. We asked him if esports is really a sport.
Definitely, yes. There's practice, there's team commitment, you have to put in the work just like anything else.
The esports team at UC San Diego was founded about 3 years ago. The director of esports, Chris Gribino, says the team has hit a lot of milestones lately, like winning first place in January in the game League of Legends at the University of California Esports Initiative.
League of Legends is they call it a MOBA. It's a massive online battle arena. And so in that game,
game, there are 5 people on each team controlling different champions with different abilities for the common goal of destroying the enemy team's nexus.
There are about 100 students involved in the esports program at UCSD, and Recreation Department Associate Director Liz Henry says that's not all. Just this year, the administration put some serious cash into recruitment of talent.
Recently, our chancellor committed $200,000 to esports scholarships, which is huge, and the students got to see that, and it's really pushing this momentum and support for these students not only to be academically successful, but to award them for their passion.
Everybody's got a story about that passion. Sam Ibovich, her gamer name is SamIM, is the president of Triton Gaming, which existed prior to the esports team on campus.
I would always look over my brother's shoulder when he played video games as a kid. My parents bought him a PlayStation back in the day, and I strangely became more interested in it than he was.
Since then, it's become a way to get to know people.
I've always seen it as a way to kind of, connect with friends.
And everybody's got a nickname.
Most gamers don't use their real names in the actual games, and we use gamer tags, or nicknames, as you say.
Josh Chow is the president of the esports team. He shows his gamer tag written on the back of his shirt. It's Lolo.
Honestly, I just came up with it on a whim back in 3rd grade, and it's just stuck ever since.
Esports may be a sport in fact, but it's still not official. At UCSD, the team is governed by recreation, not the athletic department. In fact, Gribano says the NCAA has shied away from embracing esports for a particular reason.
They've decided that with the way that esports is generally played and those types of students that generally come from it, typically speaking, the highest individuals in collegiate esports have already gone pro. In the NCAA, that is actually not allowed to have a professional athlete on your team.
You see, esports is a big industry. Last year, revenues exceeded $1 billion, according to esportsresults.com. All this becomes clear when you look at the names of the companies on the wall of the Triton Esports Center that help sponsor the UCSD team. Names like Turtle Beach, Rakat, and Zowie. Chow is a biology major, and he's not a top gamer. Even so, he says his future might be in esports, which, like all industries, relies on a lot of professions.
So that's not only graphic designers, photographers, but also video producers, live casters, and also even people on the partnership side who talk directly with companies to establish the contracts.
Next up for UCSD Esports, the university will host their annual gaming convention, the Triton Gaming Expo, on May 29th. Thomas Fudge, KPBS News.
And you can find more on that and other stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you. Tonight at 8, Ken Kramer showcases some amazing yards on About San Diego, then a growing passion towards San Diego's renowned olive groves, and later rare photos of how Balboa Park was constructed on historic places. That's tomorrow on KPBS.
Hey folks, Jorge coming to you with a new episode of Crossing South. You know, first responders, they're modern day comic book superheroes, and Baja is not the exception. Jorge's